to rise up all these times calling us to rise up, and were you there when they left us sick to die? Were you there when they left us sick to die? All these times are calling us to rise up, all these times are calling us to rise up, Were you there when we were all denied? Were you there?
These times are calling us to rise up,
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Freedom Church of the Poor. My name is Moses. I use the pronouns he, him, or they, them. And I'm really grateful to be on here with everyone tonight. And this is our first service in our Struggle and Lament season. So this is our first season. Struggle and Lament is what we call the season of Lent here at Freedom Church. And so we're very grateful. We're going to be doing something a little bit different this season and trying something new tonight, which is that we're going to have a shorter live stream service, probably around 30 minutes. And then after the 30 minutes of that service, we're going to close the live stream, but we're going to stay on the Zoom room if you're joined with us on Zoom right now. And we're going to continue and do kind of like a community reflection here together on the Zoom room. And so if you are watching on the live stream and you're interested in joining that, please feel free to head over to our Action Network link to get the link to the Zoom. But I think other than that, we can go ahead and open it with our mission statement and season statement here of the Freedom Church. Awesome. So the mission of the Freedom Church of the Poor is a spiritual home for and a political home for movement leaders. We believe in the fundamental dignity and value of all life and in the world of abundance where we can all thrive. We gather as a community of faith to support and care for each other. We commit to realizing the abundant world God promises by identifying, developing, and uniting leaders who will build a movement to end poverty led by the poor. In this community and through our commitment to the struggle, we also seek to rediscover and share a vision and practice of religion that is rooted in truth, justice, and love. And then this is our season statement for Struggle and Lament. I don't know, actually maybe like Anna, if you want to read the season statement.
Sounds good. Struggle and lament. Our faith traditions and the Bible lift up expressions of longing, mourning, even anger at the way things are. Over 700 people die every day in the United States due to poverty. Millions of people in the US die each year from inadequate healthcare. Crises of pandemics, state-sanctioned violence, storms, and other disasters disproportionately affect the poor and people of color. In the richest country in human history, there are 140 million people who are poor or want emergency from economic ruin. These are our people, our leaders, our families, and we must mourn and wail and cry out to God for justice. The season of struggle and lament parallels the season of Lent in many Christian traditions, and also is a season in which the poor and dispossessed lament our struggles and call for the repentance of those who pursue policies and systems that are killing us.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anna. And so I'm just going to share a little bit about kind of the background for the season before we jump into the reading for tonight, because we're doing something a little bit different this season. And we have been working off of a book called The Last Week, and it basically talks about the last week of Jesus's life, and it goes through basically each of the days in the Holy Week. And so what we'll be doing here in Freedom Church is going through each of these days over the next several weeks. And so today we're actually starting with the story of Palm Sunday. And so this is from the Gospel of Mark. And I wonder if we want to pull that up and read that really quick, and then maybe we can go into a little bit of a reflection of that as well. And so this comes from Mark. So this is Mark chapter 11, verses 1 through 11. When they were approaching Jerusalem at Bethphage and Bethany near the Mount of Olives, he sent two of his disciples and said to them, "Go into the village ahead of you, and immediately as you enter it, you will find tied there a colt that has never been ridden. Untie it and bring it. If anyone says to you, 'Why are you doing this?' just say this: 'The Lord needs it and will send it back here immediately.'" They went away and found a colt tied near a door outside the street. As they were untying it, some of the bystanders said to him, "What are you doing untying the colt?" They told them what Jesus had said, and they allowed them to take it. Then they brought the colt to Jesus and threw their cloaks on it, and he sat on it. Many people spread their cloaks on the road, and others spread leafy branches that they had cut in the fields. Then those who went ahead and those who followed were shouting, "Hosanna! Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Blessed is the coming kingdom of our ancestor David. Hosanna in the highest heaven." Then he entered Jerusalem and went into the temple, and when he had looked around at everything, as it was already late, he went out to Bethany with the 12. Okay, so today we are kind of thinking about the day of Palm Sunday, which I'm going to be honest, like growing up and going to church, I hadn't had a lot of associations with Palm Sunday. It didn't really mean a lot to me. It wasn't very moving to me. But when we read this book, it was actually really moving to kind of get a little bit more of the historical background of like what is actually happening here in this passage here in Palm Sunday. And so, we see here that Jesus, let me pull up my notes really quick. So we see here that, Jesus is coming off of his ministry, which has primarily taken place outside of Jerusalem in places like Galilee, which were basically these poor fishing villages that Jesus was going around and organizing this movement. And really, since Jesus was born, we haven't seen Jesus come back to Jerusalem basically throughout the whole Bible. And so this entrance into Jerusalem is the first time that we're seeing Jesus coming back to the capital city after lots of organizing and kind of these small villages, around the area. And so why is that significant, right? It's significant because Jerusalem was basically the kind of center of capital as we can think of it. And so this was basically a place in the Roman Empire where high priests were basically kind of collaborating with Roman officials. And so what they would do is that people would basically in their own fields around, the empire, raise their own grain and have their own plants and stuff like that. And they would have to send it to Jerusalem. And then basically the priests of Jerusalem, these high priests, would collaborate with the Roman Empire, and they would take some of these grains and they would give it to the Roman Empire, making the Roman Empire richer and richer, while all these people are going poor and they're going hungry because they're having to give away all of their gains. And so what we're seeing right here in Jerusalem is that this is a city where, in kind of a way, we're seeing a little bit of like a battle for religion, right? These people are doing these things in the name of religion. They're doing these things in the name of God. And so what Jesus is coming into is he's directly kind of confronting the system of both domination, but then also this collaboration, right? So he is entering into Jerusalem, and it's also significant the way that he's entering, right? He's coming on a donkey, and he's surrounded by people that are, he's been organizing with. And at the same time, in another part of, of Jerusalem, Roman officials are also having their entrance into Jerusalem. And as you can imagine, that is probably all beautiful, ornate gold, stuff that, stuff that they all bought with the grains and the labor of the people, off the backs of the labor. And so Jesus is coming and basically doing this peasant procession into the city of Jerusalem. And he's basically doing what we can see is this huge act of civil disobedience by coming into Jerusalem in this way. And I think what we can think about as we open up kind of our season about the significance of Palm Sunday is we can really think about Jesus in this last week as kind of the culmination of his organizing over the past years of his life, and also really pushing and taking his organizing to the next level by bringing it face to face with these systems of domination, right? So all of these stories that we've been reading has been him preparing people and preparing a movement to come with him as he kind of does this final push in his organizing drive. And, this final push in his organizing drive is really risky. And he probably very well knows that as he enters into Jerusalem, it might cost him his life, and it might cost him, it might cost him his life. It might cost him, he doesn't really know exactly what he's going up against, but he also knows that that's what he has to do. And that's what he has to push himself and this movement to do. And so as we open up this Lenten season with, the story of Palm Sunday and with the story of this really courageous act of civil disobedience, I think we can also continue to think about, right, what does our organizing look like? And what are we building towards? Who are we building with? And how are we kind of continuing to take that organizing actually face to face with these systems of domination and face to face with these systems that are oppressing us, right? This isn't something that is abstract. He isn't just doing this for funsies. He's actually doing this really to come up against something at a great risk, both personal and then also organizationally, right? A huge risk as well. And so I'm really grateful because I was really excited to ask for Tammy to come on here tonight and reflect a little bit. Tammy is an amazing minister. Minister Tammy is an amazing leader with Put People First, with the National Union of the Homeless. And really the reason I thought of Tammy is because I really love Tammy and I really admire Tammy. And I feel like Tammy is just such an embodiment of a leader who is like fiercely out there, constantly fighting for people, constantly fighting for organization, and constantly also really naming how these things are part of a larger system of domination and oppression. And so I'm really grateful for Tammy to come on and offer a little bit of their own experience organizing and kind of what this passage is bringing up for them. So welcome, Minister Tammy.
Thank you, Moses. Wow, I've done a lot of reflection and having multiple discussions around that scripture, and just so many little details that you can really take in from the choosing of the cult. Thinking of his disciples as the generals he's identifying, how we say in our movement, we've got to identify and develop the generals in our movement to abolish poverty. And I also was reflecting on the folks laying down their cloaks or these leaves or these branches kind of thing, like creating this path for him to lead him to where they're at, right? Where they're from. I don't know. I just think that a lot of that is amazing. And this idea of doing it in contrast to those in power, to empire, the contradiction of empire, right? The total opposite, the defying of empire and doing what they were doing. And like the folks being, hearing about him and from these other lands and organizing, and just, the people welcomed him versus, welcoming empire. And I don't know, I find that, that amazing. And when I think about things like this in relation to the organizing work, Moses, you saying how look at this as like this organizing drive, right? How this is cultivating from an organizing drive that Jesus was doing. And I think about the mass cuts to Medicaid, right? The cuts that are being proposed now, and the cuts that came from the Medicaid purge, or as Empire would like to call it, the unwinding. And about 25 million were cut during, since April 2023 during the Biden administration. And now we're looking at almost the same amount, right? Possibly being cut even further. And what that made, like, put people first PA do, and the national formation of the Nonviolent Medicaid Army, which the National Union of the Homeless and others are a part of, kicking in and organizing drives. So we've had this organizing drive with various tactics since the original purge. So we've already been doing this for the last couple of years, and now we're going into what we call phase 2. And one of the several tactics that are a part of this organizing drive is signing people up for benefits or helping them with the renewals, right? The system makes us prove over and over again that we're worthy of these state benefits, apparently, right? And sometimes you'll have folks that'll get denied. It could be a variety of things. It could be paperwork. It could be they make $3 more than the eligible amount, which is absolutely absurd. Variety of reasons, right? And if they go through the line of the system and they file for an appeal, the success rate and people winning those appeals are honestly like less than 0.5%. I don't even know if it's 0.25%. And one of our tactics as Put People First PA in Pennsylvania is when we were helping people and they were originally getting denied, we helped them through the appeal process. We didn't say, no, we'll just take some virtual appeal. We want to be in person. And not only did we file for these appeals to be in person, but we turned them into little mini rallies, right? So we would at least have about a half a dozen or so people that would attend these appeal hearings with people. There at least be one or two advocates of members of Put People First PA that would go in with this new contact, or even one of our members, right? Because it was our members. I was one of the ones affected by that and had to go through months of torture to realize that the state made a clerical error and needed to fix their mistake. And that was like having to do appeals and like going through that whole process and nonsense. And our success rate with these appeals, having folks apply to be having it in person, having folks attend and go into that hearing or whatever with the person, but also having a group of folks outside with signs rallying, yeah, no, and documenting that, we went against the grain, right? Against what Empire feels is okay process way to appeal. And we went against that. And our success rate for the appeals that we applied and fought for alongside these people have I think it's like a 97, 98%, I don't know, it's 90 something percent success rate that people won their appeals. If we wouldn't have done it that way, those people would not have won those appeals. And so I think about things like that and the need to organize and to be strategic and to utilize all the facets of how the poor are being attacked in different ways of in different various ways of projects of survival. And so that's the one example of that organizing drive that I wanted to share, because I think that there's so many other tactics as a part of it, but that to me was just very unique and very relatable to this scripture, I think. And so that's the part that I wanted to share.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you so much for all of that, and just lifting up two of the things that you said. One is talking about how, the people's response to Jesus coming in, the people just flocking towards him and celebrating him and lifting him up and really feeling energized by him actually coming into the city, right? Folks are flocking towards him versus, the Rome procession. Folks are kind of seeing through the illusion and really lifting up the work that Jesus is doing. And I also love, Tammy, what you're just talking about here is when we do this stuff in an organized way, in an organized community, and when we fight for each other, right, in this organized way, it goes against the grain of what kind of the powers that be and are expecting us to do, right, which is to kind of just, throw our hands up and be like, oh man, I can't appeal this, or, whatever, and feel, isolated, versus, when we counter that with actually the strength of our organization, and when we counter that right, with the strategies and tactics of us really going around folks and really, putting a name to this injustice and calling it out. Look what it can really do for folks, and look how it can really and care for folks and uplift folks. So thank you so much, Minister Tammy. We're so grateful to have you on tonight. So before we go into prayers, I do just want to say a quick thing that unfortunately Reverend Lamar was not able to join us tonight. And so I'm sorry for folks that may have been coming on to hear from him. We send him a lot of love, but we are grateful for everyone who was able to be on tonight. And I think with that, we can go ahead and shift into our prayers of the people. And so I would like to open it up. If anyone has any prayers that they would like to put into the chat, now is the time to lift them up. But as y'all will join me, please. Gracious God, we start off tonight's prayer with a prayer of gratitude. We give you gratitude for everyone in this space, and we give you gratitude, God, for Freedom Church of the Poor. We give you gratitude that we can come to understand you more and more every week through the work of this church, through the work of organizers across the country, and through the work of what we're doing to really put a name and call out this injustice, and to really organize and care and uplift one another. We ask a special prayer, God, for those who can't be in this space tonight. And so we lift up prayers for those who may not be able to be here because of illness or because they're in hospitals, they're in prisons, they're in war-torn countries. We ask, God, that you continue to extend your love and care around each and every one of us and for all of us who can't be in this space tonight. We ask a special prayer for some of our organizers, and so a special prayer for Matt, who was admitted into the hospital a couple of days ago and had a surgery yesterday and had his toe removed. We ask God that you surround Matt with love and with continued care, and may he know that we are all loving and praying with him every step of the way in his recovery. We ask a special prayer for Sierra's sister, Carolyn, and her grandmother, Bee. Also for their dear comrade, Elam, who is facing persecution for calling out injustice. We ask God that as many of us put ourselves at risk of being, of this persecution, of standing up against what is wrong and what is unjust, we ask God that in those moments of fear or in isolation, that you make your presence known to us, and that you help us to feel and see your love all around us. Finally, God, we give gratitude for the beginning of the season of Lent. We give gratitude for the opportunity that each and every one of us get to continue to reflect on following the way of Jesus and what that means. And we ask, God, that you continue to open up this as a period of lamenting what is yet to be done, but also to struggle towards what can be. And finally, prayers for Sean's family as they mourn him. Prayers for Sister Carol's dear friend Betsy, who is struggling with cancer. Prayers for Father Ty's brother Andy, who has also been struggling with cancer. Prayers for Jose, our friend Jose, in his recovery. And ask God, all the names that are in our hearts, everyone who may be standing in the need of prayer, we ask God that you hear their names. We ask God that you surround them with the love and care that you've offered so many of us. And we ask God that you continue to show yourself in our lives. I'm Catholic, and so I always end a prayers of the people with the Our Father. So if folks want to join me, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, now and forever. Amen. All right, Adam, I think I'll pass it over to you for some calls to action tonight.
Thank you, Moses. Thank you so much for that prayer. I really needed that. Really, really grounding, and I appreciate you holding us like that. Yes, so I have a number of calls to action in this season of struggle and lament. We remember among other things, but really important in this season, the importance of lament and the process of struggle, in the process of liberation, the effect lament has in exposing the empire, the injustice and pain and suffering caused by empire and by the powers that be. And in these days and in this country where many of us are gathered here, we mustn't forget that there are 140 million poor and low-income people in this, the richest country the world has ever seen. And of course, many other things to lament, but I think dominant on my heart is the 50,000 or more dead, mostly children and women in Gaza, and the billions and billions of funding that has come from the US to cause that horror. So with that lament, I'm going to share a few calls to action here. Let me get this slide up. Okay. So first of all, just a reminder of this amazing resource, the King's Bible Study resource, which we have put together. And you can find that. I think we'll drop the link in the chat here, and you can find that and study that. Really relevant in these times to learn about this 1,000-year-old or multiple 1,000-year-old struggle against leaders, kings, and how to. I mean, I don't want to say too much, but this is a really powerful resource, and you should check it out. But there's more to say. I have to cut myself off. Okay, second thing. This is a report that's being released by the Cairo Center. It's called "The Matter of Survival: Organizing to Meet Unmet Needs and Build Power in Times of Crisis." You can follow the link to get the executive summary here and sign up for a launch coming later in March. Really powerful report that goes right at the core of how we understand we're going to build power in this country, and that is to ground ourselves in the struggles of the poor as a place to build and politicize our people and connect our people. So a beautiful report there that it lifts up a lot of the struggles of folks that probably a lot of folks here know, and you can read more about that by following the link. Of course, this book by Minister Aaron Scott, 10 Bring Back Your People, 10 Ways Regular Folks Can Put a Dent in White Christian Nationalism. A really beautiful, funny, heartbreaking account of how we can be organizing our people, especially those folks in rural and poor white areas. So a beautiful contribution to the movement right there. If you don't have a copy, you should get one. And coming out this April, you only get what you're organized to take, Lessons from the Movement to End Poverty by Reverend Liz Theo Harris and Noam Sandweiss-Back. This is full of history and lessons of poor people's organizing. It's remarkable contribution to the movement, and we are planning to have a launch for this in April, and then we're also hoping to be out sharing the book, but more importantly, connecting to people and doing a little bit of organizing. So if you're interested in the book, please buy. If you're interested in being part of the tour, also reach out. Let's see. And then finally, just a reminder of our schedule here for Lent, for Struggle and Lament. Every Wednesday, we're going to be meeting for Bible study, 6 p.m. We have some really powerful leaders scheduled to lead us in scriptural reflection there. And then every Sunday through the 20th, we'll be meeting on Sunday at 6 p.m. And then have a special schedule for Holy Week. And then just a big thanks to all of the partners that are sponsoring, co-sponsoring, supporting this season. You can read them below or check it out online. So think that's all I have, unless Tammy or others wanted to lift anything up in the calls to action.
I can grab the link as quick as I can, but the Nonviolent Medicaid Army is doing a new set of Congress call-in days, both tomorrow and also next Monday, as they have done in, last month. So
Great. Thanks, Tammy. All right. I guess I'll pass back to you, Moses.
Yeah, so I think we are going to end with a little cultural offering from Steph Reed, and then we will go ahead from there. Becca, you can end the live stream after that, and then for those of us on the Zoom room, we will continue our conversation here. But for those who are just joining us on the live stream, thank you so much for coming tonight, and we love you, God bless you, and we will see you next week. So.
Black day, stormy night, no love, no hope inside. Don't cry, he is coming. Don't die without knowing. Get toast to the left of us, flowers to the right. There'll be bread for all of us if we can just make it wrong. Sweet songs of salvation, pregnant mothers sings. She lives in starvation. Her children need all that she brings. We all have our problems. Some are big, some are small, but soon all of our problems will be taken by.